Welcome to the Why Ukraine live stream. First time this week. I've decided that due to my teaching schedule here in Ukraine, my schedule is always changing. I get new students, new classes, all the time. So I'm kind of cutting down to doing live streams twice a week. So for me right now, it's Wednesday morning and Saturday morning for me, which will be Tuesday night and Friday night for, excuse me, those of you in on the other side of the world, in the United States. Thank you all for coming. I really do appreciate it. And we have some amazing news today to cover. Personal news for some of those of us in the group. Those of you who have supported. In fact, you may recall that starting a few months ago, we set up a fund to send a sniper to Ukraine. I'm hoping he'll be able to join us and give us some news insofar as he is able. But yeah, so it's good news. Well, kind of good news. I don't know. It depends on how you define good news. Wow. Oh, Mitch, thanks for coming in. Gosh, you're always like the first. Salty Red, liking it. Good to see you. It's fantastic. Yeah. So lots and lots of news to cover, and I'm trying to not have a million tabs up. I'm just checking on the latest news from my guys. Oh, KK's GG. Yeah. No, it's not that you're on time. It's that I'm late. I'm starting like half hour later than I intended to. But please try to remember it is 6 o'clock here. So, yeah, there it goes. Just very, very interesting news. First of all, I guess the first thing I want to talk about is, I made a little post, and I think it was actually kind of a mistake on my part. And I'll go to it right now. I made a post about the peace talks that Zelensky is talking about, and my response was, "This is terrible." Apparently, I buried it. Probably a good thing. Yeah, here we go. This is terrible. Zelensky hopes to offer peace plan to Russia. I mean, that was my first reading, and then I delved a little bit closer. Got a little bit in, and realized what the actual situation is. And hey, Jonathan, good to see you. Yeah, okay. I was thinking specifically of you when I woke up late today. Yeah, so I don't need to go too deep into this, but now I understand what they're talking about. So over 160 countries, except for Russia, will be invited to the first inaugural peace summit. That's what they're talking about. That's what they're planning on. Leaders of 160 countries. And it doesn't say when. I missed when this is supposed to be, by the summer. Yeah. So it's kind of a big FU to Russia, which is why Russia is immediately, oh, I hate that guy. Could he just shave the mustache? Could he just do something? I mean, why does he have this hair from like 1982? That's what I don't understand. Literally, I think my dad had that exact same haircut and mustache. Anyway, before he got the perm, So I don't need to go too deep into this, but my my reaction to this, now that I've delved deeper into this peace summit proposal thing, is that Zelensky's kind of, yeah, as the sod turns, yes, I remember, Jonathan. Um, but my reaction to this is that Zelensky is, and Ukraine in general is kind of calling the world's bluff collectively, because there's still a lot of idiots in the world who are saying, why can't they just make peace? Why they just need to call a ceasefire? And so it's like, okay, all right, let's get everybody together, let's talk about what real peace is going to be. you know let's have a peace summit, let's talk about this. And in a way, it's kind of like turning your, I wouldn't say enemies, but um potentially turning your detractors, let's say, into your supporters, by doing this. Um, let's get all these people who want to have peace together, and they can help us make a plan, and they can face the real reality of what exactly that's going to entail. Um, Salty Red, I love how you replace the ends with B's. I know that was a typo, but it looks hilarious. Jabathab. No, don't change it. Keep it just like that. It's awesome. I, Jonathan, is it okay if I call you Jabathab? Sorry. I might do it occasionally just to have fun. Because we got to have fun these days. So yeah. That's good. But here's the thing, guys. I just want to put this right up front. Ukraine has 3 months. Okay, that's the number that's being tossed around. That's what Joseph Borrell. I should have had this article up. Borrell, Ukraine. Let's see if I can find his most recent quote. Is saying. No, I can't find it. Doesn't. Oh yeah, maybe it's here. But basically, it's a little bit of too little, too late. But he's saying here that if the EU had not wavered in its support for Ukraine, the results would be different. We'd be having a different story right now. And this very interesting article in this past week here in the Financial Times, where okay, it's a paywall now. I read it anyway. It's worth reading. But basically, Europe is realizing, Europe's economists and things are realizing that, yeah, because we didn't lock down the sanctions, because we were too weak economically to do that, or not stalwart enough in our will, this war has continued. And old toilet brush Peskov. Well, that's what I'm going to think of every time now. So yeah, I mean, this 3 month number is important, I think, because let me see if this is the article I'm looking for. Oh, no, that's a separate subject. Ha ha ha. We'll get there. Yeah, this one here. Okay, so Russia knows that. I think Russia. Yeah. Yeah, oh my god, Stanley and I can't remember, Luke, the Muppets, the old Muppet guys. Anyway, all right. The guys on the balcony, yes. Old Muppet guys. Statler and Waldorf. There we are. Yeah. He he definitely looks like one of them. Oh. I can't remember which one is Statler and which one's Waldorf, but there you are. But yeah, so honestly, this is why everybody here in Ukraine right now is despondent, has been despondent for the past week, 2 weeks. I mean, really, since Avdiivka fell, and it's not just about Avdiivka. It's because we know, yeah, Schultz still, and you know, um, I mean, just for example, the Bundestag, okay, voted over a week ago, or I guess a week ago, to send long range weapon system. They're like, yeah, send the Taurus. Okay, they've approved it. It should be sent, and Schultz is still blocking the Taurus being sent. You know, still blocking. Um, so Ukraine is kind of, well, Ukraine obviously, but also the EU is kind of feeling around, trying to find these shells. So it says here, Ukraine's foreign minister says the EU will supply Ukraine with 170,000 shells by late March. I mean, there's a big difference between says. So Ukraine's foreign minister is saying the EU. I don't see the EU saying that. I see the EU trying to feel around, trying to find these shells somewhere. That's the situation here. I mean, like, so it's scary for us here, to be honest. Because we know what's happening out there on the front lines. We know that Russia is attacking basically at all points, like 5 different fronts right now, and they're doing it because they know they can. So there's Avdiivka right now, but also here's Bakhmut. This is, I mean, they're coming up on Chasiv Yar. They're basically one village away from Chasiv Yar right now. And the argument right now is all about, well, did they have they built enough Surovikin line, a Ukrainian version? And the answer is no. I think Zelensky's speech, or I'm sorry, press conference was amazing, truly amazing, with the cats and the structure of it. Okay, but a very very specific, poignant question about the defenses was asked that kind of showed that he didn't know. Kind of showed that he didn't know the state. And they talked about this on Ukraine the Latest. So I'm not the only one who thinks this. But Ukraine the Latest is the Telegraph radio show. If you don't listen to it, you should. I think Trump wants to orchestrate an Afghanistan-style collapse in Ukraine because he thinks it'll hurt Biden's poll numbers. I mean, I think he wants to orchestrate an Afghanistan-style collapse in Ukraine, period. Where he wants to see something where you've got, Ukraine pulling back by tens of kilometers, even hundreds of kilometers, is what they're aiming for. I don't think they're going to achieve that. But I do do think that the next 3 months are pretty much on all fronts, except for the Dnipro. I think Kherson will be pressed very, very hard. And my friends, our friends, hey, Catherine, good to see you. You know, our friends are out there. People, our countrymen. If you're American, if you're Australian, if you're Norwegian, they're all out there. I've met them, and they're fighting on the front lines for freedom, for the freedom of the world, just like the Ukrainians are, and they're under just as much threat. And so, yeah, look, it's 3 months, and this is why it's a special operation within the special operation that the Russian Federation is doing, called Maidan 3. I guess that's the code name for it, apparently. And it looks, it doesn't go into specifics here too much exactly what it is, but it's a cyber warfare operation, and I can tell you that I am seeing the results of this already among Ukrainians. So this is specifically targeting. So Russia spent almost 250 million on spreading anti-Ukrainian sentiments on the Telegram platform alone. So, Telegram is the primary platform that all Ukrainians use. I know, yes, it was created by a Russian, but it's used equally across the board. Basically, people in Ukraine who primarily speak and read Russian, as opposed to Ukrainian or English, are particularly susceptible to this. One of my students was telling me, like, she works for an NGO that's supposed to be helping Ukraine, and her coworker, who's from Donetsk, was like, "Yeah, did you know that?" Oh my God, what was the crazy thing? Oh, I can't remember some kind of stupid, crazy conspiracy theory. Oh, it's coming to me. Crazy stuff, all about like how black, and I've heard this in the past week from my my own students coming to me with stupid conspiracy theories, that they're like, "Hey, James, did you know that there's this company called BlackRock that's started the war in Ukraine?" Oh, that was the other conspiracy theory, that that the West stopped Ukraine from engaging in peace negotiations at the start of the war because they didn't want Ukraine to make peace with Russia. Also bullshit. Um, the whole BlackRock conspiracy theory. Uh, if you want me to spend time debunking that, I could, but you can just Google. I'll share it on my community tab. I don't need to go into it. The thing is, there's so many valid conspiracies out there. People can't decide what's what. I think I already mentioned one of my wife's coworkers who thinks that, like, there's 5G in the lampposts that's keeping her brain awake at night. So all of these crazy conspiracy theories are just flooding the and I'm just noticing it in the last, particularly in the last few months. And ultimately, you'd be asking, like, why are they doing that, right? And it says there's right here, the main directions and goals of the enemy are the disruption of Ukrainian mobilization. So one of the things they're doing, and I don't have the article right in front of me. One of the things that they've been doing since at least December is having, oh yeah, chemtrails. That's another one, and fluorine in the water, all that crap. all of these conspiracy theory, fake bullshit rabbit holes, they all eventually lead you to the flat Earth conspiracy. That's like kind of there is a bottom to the hole, and the bottom is the flat Earth. That's my feeling on it. Crack pipes, nice. In the 90s, we called conspiracy theories crack pipes. Yeah, too many valid cons, right? Valid conspiracies that and that's the thing about all of these fake conspiracies is that they are deflecting from the real ones that's right before our eyes. So one of the big things, and I'm sorry I don't have the article up in front of me, is they're having tortured, captured Ukrainian prisoners in Russian, wherever, whatever torture chambers they're being held in Russia, call their families and tell them to go out and protest against the war and protest against their captivity and say things like that. Say things like Ukraine doesn't want to exchange us, Ukraine doesn't want us back, and that's the only thing that they're allowed to say on the phone to their relatives. So it's pretty crazy stuff. And that has had some effect. There have been protests in Kiev about this, and so disruption of Ukrainian mobilization, spread of disinformation about Ukraine's ability to win, creation and distribution of fakes about fatigue with Ukraine among our partners in the world. So it's to spread despair essentially in the Ukrainian people, and I would argue that to some degree it's working. Hey, Ronnie, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Really. So 3 months is what we're looking at, guys. If we don't get some shells, if we don't get some serious support, and I know that Ukraine just received let's see if I have it here in front of me. I had an order that I was going to go in today, and I already blew it out of the water. Ukraine just received the first $4.5 billion in monetary support for the government. So that's a good thing. Right. So I want to talk about this first, I think. So this is a big debate that's going on that is directly related to this, construction of protective structures. Okay, because Zelensky has been a little bit unclear. This is what I was talking about earlier. Hey, Herb. Mitten Oblast reporting, sir. Welcome, man. It's okay. I was late too. So this is a big debate that's happening, that has been happening for really at least the last 6, 8, 9 months. People are angry that local municipalities here in Ukraine are spending money on the wrong things. So they get their money from the federal government, and ultimately the federal government is being entirely supported at this point by the EU, and previously by the United States. And so, but I just want you to, so this is a breakdown of the budgets of all of the cities in the Kharkiv Oblast. Okay, so the state of Kharkiv, that are the unoccupied areas of Kharkiv, and what they're spending their budget on and everything. So this article is a total breakdown of exactly how much each of these communities is spending on each and every little thing. And I just want you to think for a second, okay? Is this a news article that you would see in an American newspaper, or online or otherwise? Maybe in a local newspaper, perhaps. Okay, but not I mean, they are really, really getting down into the nitty gritty here. And, I'd say oftentimes that Ukraine is really a democracy. And this is exactly the sort of thing that I'm talking about. They are literally going line by line through the expenditures of these local, in this article here, of these local uh, municipalities, and saying, why are they spending money on, planting, lands, doing landscaping, when what they need to be doing is building defenses, you know? And so Zelensky said something very important that was different from what he said last interview back in December. Yeah, cities have to keep running. Yeah, so I mean, this is a debate that Herb. Oh Jesus! I have a story to tell you, Herb. Speaking of BDSM, I had a BDSM experience yesterday, but I'll get to that. Um, so yeah, uh, so yeah, cities have to keep running, and yeah, it's absolutely true. But the people themselves are taking an active part in their government. That's the important part here. I mean, do you know what your city or a municipality or whatever county spends on landscaping each year? I'm gonna bet not, unless you happen to work in that department for the city. You know? Yeah, it's thanks, Catherine. Gotta laugh about something. Um, so so there's that. Yeah. So I guess I'll tell my BDSM story. Um, you guys know that I fucked up my back. It's now been 2 weeks, and my back is still like, oh, fucking, it's so frustrating. Because I can't do most of the exercises I need to be doing at the gym at all. Um, and I mean, it's totally my fault. I didn't stretch properly. Thank you, Jonathan. I work in landscaping. It's millions. Yeah. So, yeah. So basically, I signed up with I found here in the village where I am in the middle of Ukraine. I signed up with a physiotherapist. The physiotherapist has an office in my gym, and I'm like, yay! I'm gonna get some real help finally. Get this thing all worked out. Now, I don't know what you think of when you think of physiotherapy. I think of something like this, right? This is physiotherapy, right? Yeah. I mean, you get some massages, some special stretches, maybe this weird electrical thing they do, the tensor, whatever it's called. Um, yeah. So I signed up for this thing, and then so yesterday this happened. Oh my gosh, no, this would have been Monday, so because it's Wednesday now in my land. Um, I walked into the room and I saw, the massage table. Okay, everything's fine. And then I look on the wall and there's a acupuncture chart, showing all the meridian lines and the chi points or whatever they're called. And I'm like, okay, I'm not really here for that, but okay. And then I just turning around, and I see 2 jars of leeches. 2 jars of leeches. Like the animal, the ones that suck your blood. Okay? Leeches. Like that. Just like that. Floating around in these jars, searching for somebody to vampire onto. Okay? And this was sitting on a shelf, uh, attached. Sorry, sitting on a shelf for a. Let me see if I can find it here. Jar therapy. I don't know if you guys know what jar therapy is. No, that's not it. Cupping jar. Okay. Okay. This is what it is. Cupping jar therapy. I guess it's very popular. I've seen that this is very popular. Let's see. Cupping jar. It's very popular here in Ukraine, or it was like 100 years ago, or Soviet Union times or something. Yeah, this crazy crap. Okay. And they basically sucks. I don't know. It's supposed to suck all the bad energy out of you. Yeah. Yeah. KK's GG. Yeah. Quack. Yeah. I know that leeches have, some leeches, have some legitimate applications. Okay. But, okay. So I'm like, all right, well, first of all, this person does not speak English. So I brought my wife along to make sure we could get the translation in, and she's explaining everything. And so I'm laying down on the table, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm just here for the massage. I don't need all the other crap. And that's when I feel the needle into my spine or into my back. Yeah, okay, so Cheryl, so you went to acupuncture school. Is acupuncture supposed to be insanely, incredibly painful? I'm just wondering. Asking for a friend. Everybody who I have talked to who has done acupuncture has told me that, like, they barely felt the needles going in. You know? Yeah, I mean, are acupuncture needles supposed to be insanely painful? Because the first one went in, and I was like, "Ah!" Yeah. Well, I did not see these needles because I was face down on a massage table, and it was crazy. Yeah. No, it's not. Yeah, doing it wrong and possibly causing nerve damage. Yeah. Uh, and like, and then the next one went in. And again, I was expecting a massage. I was not expecting needles, right? And I'm like, the next one goes in, and I'm like, ah! Okay. She got to four needles, and I was like, Nima. That's Ukrainian for no more. I was literally in tears. I sounded like a little schoolgirl. I'm sure the guys in the gym next door were like going like, who's torturing that little girl? Really? Herb, needles to the back is what effed me up. I mean, I don't discount acupuncture. I know there's, different levels of evidence to talk about it, but yeah, it was horrible. And I'm not going to be going back to that place. Yeah, yeah, epidural. Modern medicine. I know personally know people who have had epidurals. I know one person who had an epidural and was permanently paralyzed from the legs down, or from the middle spine, or wherever they did it, lower back down, um, in the most awful manner. So yeah, so that was a disaster. I did find out that at the local hospital here, they do have a physiotherapist, like a real one. Um, your ex-husband used to pass out on the mere side of a needle. Yeah, I mean, I do not like needles, to be sure. Yeah, it felt like a lumbar punch. You know, I do not like needles. I mean, I have three tattoos, and you know, but this was not anything like that. This was above and beyond. This was like deep, extreme, the kind of pain that makes you sick to your stomach. It's so painful. It was awful. It was freaking awful. So I'm gonna go to the hospital today. I'm gonna try and sign up for a physiotherapist there, but I might have to go to the largest, big city nearest to me here in Ukraine, to find proper help and proper treatment. And I am so angry about it. I'm just so freaking enraged. I don't have anybody to be enraged about except myself. But there we are. You know. Yeah, yeah. And I need to. I've been afraid to do any sort of yoga, because I was in so much pain that any wrong move. But I'm probably, yeah. If I had a swimming pool here in this village, I would do that. But yeah, and I'm gonna start doing those exercises again. But I had to. I want to see a therapist I um before I start doing some exercises and fuck my back up even more. You know, and I know that this is only going to probably be another couple of weeks. I understand this, but it's delaying my goals, and it's just frustrating to me. But hey, there are lots of my friends who are out there. Um, I don't think he's going to be able to make it, so I'll just let you know. Uh, I'll just let you know. Our our guy, uh, Tony, he is going to have Divka. He's going to have Divka. He told me yesterday. That's what's happening. So he thought maybe he was going to be going to another part of the front line. Um, but no. Um, nope. He's going to have Divka. So so yeah, it's it's not great. I mean, GamerJet. Saw the Discord for this stream in the ATP Discord. How would you summarize these streams so I know what to expect? Um, I live in Ukraine, and I talk about that. I talk about what's going on here and what people are thinking about things here. I talk about the news from the perspective of Ukrainians as much as I can, and from my own perspective sitting here in Ukraine. And we raise funds to buy stuff for uh, for the International Legion for the defense of Ukraine. And what I was just about to say is that you guys sent a sniper from America to Ukraine. Yeah, I'm sure you guys must remember Tony. And he messaged me. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to make it. I told him he was going to try to join, but I think he's probably already on his way to Avdiivka right now. So yeah, that's the situation, guys. But I hope he will be effective here. Oh, he was over at ATP Geopolitics. Cool. That's good. Yeah, he probably. I'm sure I came on too late for him to join. He's probably on his way to Avdiivka now. So yeah, I'm I mean I'm glad that we were able to send him. I'm also worried about my friend. You know, that's simple as. I'm worried about my friend. So, um, sorry, I don't have the fundraiser up because I closed out the fundraiser for him. So, but I sent him everything that you guys um, sent. So in total, just to let you know, the total amount that you guys raised from my website was $910. And I'm sorry, one bad thing about using Shopify to take donations is it doesn't have a way to show you how much has been raised in total. At least I haven't found it yet. And it's like I can go in and dig through the financials and then it'll show me on the product page, but I don't know how to like put that up on the website for each product yet. There's got to be a way. There's got to be an app or something for that. But I just want to let you know that's how much was raised for Tony directly from the website, and then a couple of people actually donated to Tony directly, as in like purchased his plane ticket and. So Ronnie, you think the house will bend in a month? Man, I hope so. I mean, it cannot come any faster, my dude. It can't come any faster, you know. Let's talk about that. Uh, so, I mean, Zelensky's saying right here, of course, it's blocked, but U.S. aid package is needed within a month. Okay, it needs to get approved within a month, and the reason for that is that it's going to take some time after that. It's going to take some time after that for once the purchases get approved, then oh my god, there's purchase orders and then logistics and packing. And I mean, I know just from just from the logistics of sending out freaking these little magnets, which I finally sent out last week, by the way, and I'm hoping that they make it through customs. I just it's please let my magnets through. When Moses was in Ukraine land, let my magnets go. So I'll know probably in the next couple of days. I know that they are actually at these magnets are at the customs right now. But yeah, Ronnie, I'd like to maybe you can give me your opinion. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think that there's going to be a discharge petition to put this bill on the floor for Ukraine funding? Or do you think Mike Johnson is going to be removed as speaker? Or do you think he will put it on the floor for a vote himself, which effectively is the same as removing him as speaker, because his caucus will remove him as speaker if he tries to do that, right? But which one do you think it's going to be? And yeah, Cheryl, daily stretching and self massage. That's really what I need to be doing if I'm going to get back to my goals. Johnson is a discharge on the floor of humanity. Yeah. So we don't know what state this discharge is in. Some excuse me. I think it's probably still in the hands of the Democrats and has not been. It hasn't been shown to most of the Republicans, if any. Okay. And I understand this article is from 6 days ago, but things have not changed essentially. Seriously, send Tony, if you guys have any direct communication with him, man, give him as much morale as you possibly can, because he's going out there, man, and he's going right into the thick of it, right into the worst possible part. That shows you how desperate the situation is. Okay, that they're sending people right there. I mean, I don't even know that he's. You'll probably get a little bit of training on the front line, but they're going to basically expect him to just go right for it, and man. So I really really think that certain members of in the Republican Party are in like direct communication with the Russians, like through maybe it's Konstantin Nikolaev, okay, the Putin's agent who donated to the Johnson campaign, yeah. Oh, Tony, you're here. Ha ha ha. Shit. Sorry, I didn't see it, man. My apologies. Good God. All right, man. Well, we're all worried about you. I'm glad you're here. No, but I really think that Russia is telling their operatives in various places of power, listen, just if you can just hold off this funding until like April, we'll be good. We'll be good because we're gonna mop up this whole Ukraine problem. That's not really what's going to happen, but that's the doctrine, I think, that that the Russians are counting on. And where's I'm trying to find it. Oh, did I delete the article? The one about this guy who is talking all of, what was his name? Smirnov. Yakov Smirnov, or whatever his was, the Russian double agent who was testifying about Biden to the FBI. Yeah, and I really think their goal is just to hold off. But here's the thing: if that, and I think that Macron, this comes around to the Republican reps who are quitting, right? Because they have no, they have nothing to lose, right? So Cheryl has a very good point here. We need to call and recruit the Republican representatives who are quitting. So Mark Green, Mike Gallagher, Kathy McMorris Rogers, Jeff Duncan, Greg Pence, Larry Buckhorn, Doug Lamborn, Blaine Luetkemeyer. Yeah. I mean, I know he's in jail now, thank God. But nonetheless, I think that it just shows how deeply connected the MAGA Republicans are to the Russians. Honestly, how heavily infiltrated they have been. And I believe, personally, without any more evidence than what I've already discussed here, that it will be revealed down the line that there was a lot more Russian influence in these people, on these people, through various means. But all that's, it will come out in the wash years from now when it's already too late. And the Russians know that, because they're counting on, hey, just hold off those shells until April, maybe even May. And yeah, Jordan is still having at it. They don't care about the facts. Yeah, exactly. Reminds me of someone else we know. Putler doesn't care about the facts either. Lots of compromat. Yeah. Yeah. So the thing about it is that, and I think that Europeans are, finally starting to recognize that, uh, we can take this. Where's the? Oh yeah, this article here, right? Only 10% of Europeans now confident in Ukraine's victory. Yeah. Half of the respondents think Ukraine should accept a negotiated settlement to end the war. Right. This, I think, is where Macron is coming from with his. Let's see if I can find it here. All right, here I am. I save things in my list and then I lose it. Where Macron is saying that, not ruling out the possibility of sending Western troops to Ukraine. Now, everybody else in NATO, practically everybody else in NATO, is saying no. But we've heard this before, right? We've heard this before. We've heard everybody else in NATO says no F-16s. No attackums. And then one guy says it, and then 6 months later, everybody's saying it. Yeah. Only peace is for the Russians to leave the land and all of it. That's right, Tony. Yeah. So this is the situation, right? If those shells don't get to Ukraine really realistically within 30 days. I'm talking about some kind of shells from somewhere, whether it's from Czechia, from freaking India, wherever they're going to come from. 100,000 shells need to be in Ukraine in the next 30 days, or somebody in NATO is going to have to step in. And Macron's just the first one. Yeah, okay. What if there's a total ceasefire? Can Ukraine? Yeah. So this is a question, right? Can NATO immediately vote for Ukraine and ratified in Article 5? Yeah, possibly. Yeah. So yeah, a reverse narrative. Yeah, Ronnie. I mean, you're kind of right. I mean, here's the thing is, if NATO, or I just don't think it's a good idea for any Western country to be putting boots on the ground in Ukraine. And I'm not talking about at least right now. And I mean, I could be wrong. You think the F-16 are already being used, Tony? Yeah. Because the downings of aircraft are beyond the Patriot distance. Yeah, that's a real question about the A-50s coming down. Yeah, exactly. KK, can NATO do anything at that rapid of a pace? Is the question. I mean, Aussie Bugga, effectively, Ukraine would be forced to declare that those territories are no, to declare no. Sorry, would be forced to declare that they no longer have a claim to the occupied territories, which I don't think Ukraine would be willing to do. Hang on. I'm turning off this light because it's dumb. That's better. I don't need it. So yeah. Yeah, you guys. Okay, Sally, you said JP mentioned James told him some people are scammers to be skeptical. Yeah. No, Tony's for real, of course. JP wants to interview Tony. Yeah, that would be really, really great. The problem is Tony might already be out. I mean, Tony, if you want to make that happen, if you can make that happen with JP, if you yeah. If you want to do that interview with JP, just please let me know and I'll try to make it happen if you want. I mean, I just don't know if you're going to have time is the question, right? Ronnie, you just said, did you see the thing where Zelensky did the narrative in Russia? There are Ukrainians that we need to break free. That's interesting. I mean, I know there are a lot of Ukrainians in Russia, on both sides of the on both sides of this war. Yeah, Ozzy. I mean, that's ultimately it. Now, here's the problem with NATO, or maybe just France unilaterally sending troops into Ukraine. I don't know if Ukraine would agree to that because as soon as foreign troops come into Ukraine, first of all, you've got the possibility of an Article 5 situation. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like France comes into Ukraine, if France gets attacked by Russia in Ukraine, would that trigger an Article 5? Yeah. Would that trigger an Article 5 is the question. Moreover, and this is the real and I mean maybe an Article 5 needs to be triggered. That's, the situation. But the real question would be if foreign armies are on Ukrainian soil, would they then be able to say, you know what, we're calling it. We're calling it, Ukraine, just give up. We're going to hold these borders for you, just give up. Give up these occupied territories, and we're calling it right now. Okay? This essentially. Would France or NATO do that? They would be able to. They would certainly be able to. I'm not going to say like take over the country, but more or less take over the war, potentially. In my mind, and right, France is not per definition NATO. You're right. You're absolutely right. But I mean, it's a very gray area here. Obviously, the rest of NATO, Germany's saying no, Macron, what are you talking about? But in my mind, this is a big reason why Ukraine kind of did the. I've talked about this before about my opinion about how the international excuse me about how the International Legion works, right? So the International Legion, they don't have their own commanders. All of their commanders are part of basically the regular Ukrainian army, and at the battalion or really even at the unit level, they are attached to Ukrainian units as just kind of side, as opposed to being an entire brigade. Okay, as opposed to being fighting as a brigade with with Western commanders within the Legion, okay, which they certainly could have had. They haven't had that, okay, and why? Why haven't they been allowed to? Why hasn't the International Legion been allowed to direct its own activities on the front line above the maybe company level? And the reason for that, I personally believe, is that I personally believe that Ukraine is perhaps legitimately afraid of having foreign armies on its soil, which, in the minds of some, okay, I'm obviously not drinking enough. In the minds of some, the International Legion could be considered a foreign army on Ukrainian soil, and that's why it's been broken up continuously and treated as kind of the bastard stepchild of the Ukrainian army. And so I don't think that I mean, yeah, you're right. It's good that France brought it up. I think I think they're Putler only responds to threats. Okay. And he may, make a big show and have Medvedev come out and say, "We're going to nuke you." How many hundreds of times has Medvedev said that? But he knows he won't come out and say it himself. That's very interesting, Cheryl. Cheryl just said my Republican representative actually sent me a Ukraine aid survey. How much do you support? Maximum and yesterday. That's really good. That clearly Republican representatives are trying to take the temperature of their electorate. So that's a really good thing. We've got to keep Putin wondering. Yeah, it's so funny that word Putin. I didn't know what Putin was till I visited Canada back in 2012. And just so you guys know, those of you who are not Canucks, Putin is like a favorite dish in some parts of Canada. It looks like this. It's French fries. It's just French fries, but they put vinegar on it typically, and it'll have like cheese and stuff. Oh god, I can't look at this. I'm going to start getting hungry. I ate breakfast though, so I should be safe. But so yeah, I don't actually like to associate Vladimir Putler with the Canadian dish because it ruins the dish. Yeah. It's very interesting. Putler has the Nepalese, these people who have been tricked into coming. Anyway, so I mean that's the situation right now. I want to move on to something else a little bit interesting here, and you may think that this is a good sign. Okay, so partisans blew up the headquarters of Putin's party in Novakhovka. So in the occupied territories, the Russia has set up their own political headquarters, and they're trying to force people to vote for Putler to make it look like it's not a fake election. And so somebody blew up. Now Novakhovka, if you don't remember, Novakhovka is right here. Okay, this is where the dam was blown up. So obviously, this map is not correct. This lake no longer exists. Okay, because the dam was blown up. So this is Novakhovka. It's called the Novakhovka Dam, and the lake is called Kakhovka Reservoir. I have no idea what Kakhovka means, but Nova means new, so it's New Kakhovka. So it's very, very close to the front lines. Okay, and what's interesting about this is being reported as partisans blew up the headquarters of Putin's party in Novakhovka. I look at this, and I'm sorry to say, that doesn't look like. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it's they threw a grenade on the roof or a bomb of some kind. Okay, but to me, it looks a heck of a lot like a drone strike from the air, attempting to strike into the front door or the glass, and instead hitting this part of the roof. None of the glass was broken. None of the glass was damaged. Yeah, maybe not a false flag. But I don't entirely believe that this is partisan setting off an explosion like from the ground. So this is reported by the Center of National Resistance, and I went and read their website as well. Here's my problem with this. I know people have been saying this whole time that, yeah, there's all kinds of partisan activity happening in the occupied territories. That part of Ukraine was settled by Anglo-Saxons around 1,000 years ago. That's interesting. Didn't know that. I mean, I know that there were, the Varangians of the Kievan Rus. Many of the later ones were, actually came from Anglo-Saxon England after 1066. But I only knew about them in Byzantium. Anyway, the point is, the point that I'm making about this article here is a lot of people have been saying like oh yeah, there's lots and lots of partisan activity that we don't know about happening. Okay, so why are we hearing about this one? Why are we hearing about this one? And to me, it's a big red flag, because first of all, I hate to say it, but I kind of agree that it looks like it was a drone strike. And it would make sense because it's very close to the front lines. But if they're able to report on this quote unquote partisan strike, what about all the other ones? What about all the other partisan stuff that's happening back here? Is it happening? I know I'm being a doomsayer or something, but I'm just not seeing it. I mean, we have reports of, all kinds of things happening behind the front lines in Russia. All kinds of strikes happening, factories blowing up all over. Okay, but I'm not seeing that much in these occupied territories of either Kherson, Zaporizhia, the parts of Donetsk or Luhansk. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing the reports in any telegrams or any personal communications I'm having. And this worries me. Right. I mean, it worries me because there should be more. There should be a lot more. Oh, okay. Cheryl, I'll have to go back and watch that Dylan Burns. I do watch Dylan Burns occasionally, a few times a week usually. So I'll definitely check that out. Anything that involves Tolkien, potentially. I'm all for. But yeah, so what's happening in these occupied territories? Like, if they're able to report on something as simple as this, then we ought to be hearing about things that are happening at the same level across these territories, and we're not. And so I just want to know why. I want to know where those is the FSB so effective? um no, Ronnie, I misunderstand what you're saying. Did you see the difference between February 2023 and February 2024? We have a munition panic here, not a loss. um Explain that. Yeah, because I there is definitely a munition panic here in Ukraine. You know, and it appears to be because we don't have enough munitions, and everybody's worried about it. So, anyway, the point is, um, here's the possibilities, and please understand this is total supposition, and maybe I'm just not in a good mood, but in these occupied territories, either the FSB is so uh, effective that all partisan or most partisan activity has been suppressed. Okay, that's possibility one. Second possibility, and none of these are mutually exclusive to each other, by the way. Second possibility, in my mind, is that uh, almost everyone who was the 60-70% of the population that was pro-Ukraine got the hell out, and then some, and is now out of these occupied territories. Okay, so that's possibility number 3. And the third possibility is that anyone who doesn't go along gets deported. So the only people, your third possibility is essentially that the only people who are left are basically, if not you, orc supporters, at least, complicit. I mean, I think that after the war, a lot of questions when we do reoccupy these territories, I think a lot of questions are going to be asked. A lot of people are going to say, "Oh my God, you lived through this terrible, horrible experience," and that's going to be a thing. But also, Ukrainians are going to ask, "What were you doing? What were you doing in Melitopol during that time? What were you doing in Chornozemny, or your little village, your little town? How were you helping? How were you helping? What did you do? Show us proof." These are questions that are going to be asked. Okay. This is something that makes me really angry, because when I see it makes me angry that I see Americans not supporting Ukraine. But when I see Ukrainians not supporting Ukraine, or not supporting Ukraine enough, and I know, I have no right to even say that or think that, but it still makes me angry. Yeah. All right. I want to close up some of these tabs, but this special operation within the special operation, this Maidan 3, where they're spreading all of these lies, I think it is having an effect. And in these areas that are just completely subjugated and subject to total propaganda. Out in these little areas, look, there's this town of Horodisha. Okay. Do they even know that Ukraine exists? That we're still like fighting for them? You know? Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's any more than 30% or ever was. But yeah, no, yeah. I mean, the thing is, okay, so that's another thing. Salty Red, you brought up a very important point, and I'm not sure I have an article about this, but um, you know, this idea that Russians are not learning. I think we can. The Russians learn, but slowly, and they have learned. They have changed their tactics. For one thing, what I'm reading and what I'm hearing about is that um, first of all, the turnaround time for artillery, in other words, the time from observation with a drone until the artillery comes in, has uh, has gone down. Has gone down to it was hours or sometimes days, and it's down to minutes. It's The orcs are adapting. They are changing. So one of the big reasons why you know why we struggled so much, um why we are struggling so much here, is that uh the turnaround time, the artillery, maybe their aim is not any better, but their turnaround time from observation to firing has been shortened. Okay, and so yeah, that's a problem. You know? So I want to talk about a couple of other things here. This article, I think, is extraordinarily important, and I think it was underrepresented, even though it's from several days ago. So, money from the UN, okay, is being UN and the Red Cross, I should say, is being used to kidnap Ukrainian children and brainwash Ukrainian children. Okay, with money from UNICEF, right? At least 2,442 children illegally transported from Ukraine to Belarus in the first year and a half. And this was done. Investigators found out that international organizations, for example, the Belarusian Red Cross, the UN, and UNICEF, were behind the arrangements of such programs, in addition to the Belarusian ones. So the Belarusian Red Cross, UNICEF. So this took place within the framework of humanitarian aid to refugee children from Ukraine. Like, that's Herb, I agree with that, and that is starting to come. Those are starting to come. Um, yeah, yeah. So the UN at this point is actively helping to kidnap Ukrainian children. Okay, I want to make that real clear, and that this is documented now. We know it. Okay, so the UN is not just useless; it's actively working against Ukraine and actively complicit in war crimes. Okay. Today is the day supposedly Transnistria. So it's remember it's Wednesday here for me, Wednesday morning, and the UNWRA in Gaza actively transporting terrorists. Yeah, you're right, Herb. It's really this is something talking about your thing about frequency changers and networking equipment, and it can be bought here in Ukraine as well. And I'm actively working on putting together. I don't just want to buy random equipment. I need to have something where we maybe a local group of people here where we can put together basic anti-drone equipment or drones themselves. I'm actually working on setting up like basically a drone club, like a drone, here in my local village. You know, I know these things are happening in all over Ukraine, but yeah, Greg, I'm working on that. I'm not ready to like announce anything yet, but it's something I spent most of my free time the last 2 days working on, actually, and this weekend as well. So anyway, so today is supposed to be the day that the day that Transnistria is going to ask to join the Russian Federation. I'm curious, what do you think will be the effect of that? Like, what's going to actually happen? I mean, like, what is that actually going to change? Is that going to change anything? I mean, is Russia's the only thing? Yeah. Jonathan, I know you messaged me, and I did read your messages and things about the drone defense and stuff that you're working on. So you know, I mean, I haven't been in a position to do anything with it yet, and I apologize for that. But I am paying attention to that in all seriousness, and I mean, I've had a lot of ideas too this past year, 2 years. And it's not even about the lack of money, it's about finding the right people. Oh my god. Okay, hang on. Give me a second. So I've just put these vitamins in my tea. I know everybody thinks I'm drinking beer. And that's okay. And it looks even more like I'm drinking beer because it's like bubbling. Yeah, I'll be interested. I mean, feel free to send it to me. Even if I'm not ready to do anything about it just yet. Um, you know, the problem is even a lot of the ideas I had wanted to work on like 2 years ago with my expertise as a network and systems engineer and with drones and things. Ukraine's already passed it. Their technologies, they're evolving so rapidly. It's really amazing. And I wish I could be involved in that more. And I hope to be. But in any case, I'm just curious as to yeah, I can sadly I can drink like one beer a day safely, to be honest. And it really sucks because I used to like beer a lot. Too much beer. Tea flavored beer or beer flavored tea. I, I can drink non-alcoholic beer. I actually have some right here. I will show you. This is my wait. Where's my camera? I have non-alcoholic beer because I do like the taste of beer, but yeah, unfortunately, it is 0% alcohol. And no, I do not have any in my teacup yet, but maybe I should. Um, yeah, it's a I get bored sitting here because I sit in front of my computer and I teach lessons all day, and I get bored with just so I make up little cocktails of vitamins and tea and compote or apple juice. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, I'm just okay. So back to the serious stuff. Um, yeah, yeah. I prefer dark beer. That's the thing. I like dark beer. Nobody makes a non-alcoholic dark beer. That sucks. I don't know if you want to call a non-alcoholic beer a beer. It's just a beer-like beverage, let's say. But yeah, I know. One beer. What the fuck? How do you get by? Seriously. Yeah, yeah. When I was in Belgium, by the way, briefly in 2019, and they do have amazing beer. Possibly the best beer I've ever had, to be honest. Um, so I mean, this is the question, right? Transnistria. If you don't know where Transnistria is, it's this area right here. In the red, it is effectively Russian occupied. It's a split off breakaway state from Moldova. They split off in like 1991 or something like that, and it's a total shithole. Um, the government is basically gangsters, and nobody's done anything about it all this whole time because nobody cared about this. Oh, I do like Dos Equis Dark, or I used to anyway. But there's lots of local beers, and actually, the one that my local restaurant here serves is they serve a Grimbergen Dark, which is Grimbergen Belgium. I think it is. I think it is Belgian. So that's interesting. It's probably the most common dark, non-local dark beer here is Grimbergen. Anyway, yeah. So the thing is Transnistria is supposed to declare for Russia today. I mean, what effect do you think that's going to have, realistically? Um, the only thing I can think of is if it can be used to manipulate the United Nations in some way. I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, honestly, they're supposed. I heard something like 7,000. Uh, I've also heard 1,500 Russian soldiers here. I've heard about like an army of about 7,000. Um, possibly larger than Moldova's own army. Like, sorry, Ronnie. Feel free to take me to school about Grimbergen and Belgian beer anytime. You can message me, put it in the comments. I don't know, whatever. It's all good. Uh, um, yeah. So, I mean, this is the question. Like, what are they going to do? Ukraine is not in a. Ukraine theoretically could just say, "Okay, Moldova, would you like us to take care of this problem for you?" and just march over Transnistria very quickly and hand it over to Moldova. But Ukraine is not in a position to do that in the next 3 months. Yeah. Well, they're there because they've been there since 1991. Because Transnistria was a breakaway state from Moldova at the end of the. They wanted to stay a part of Russia essentially. I mean, it's also very possible that Romania could get involved and help Moldova. There's a lot of Moldovans who just want to flat out join Romania because they do speak a form of Romanian. And one of the big differences supposedly is more than a few. It's interesting you said Aussie Bugger. It's likely more than a few Romanian quote unquote volunteers would appear to help. Yeah. So I mean, maybe this will break out into a war, and maybe it'll happen today. I kind of doubt it. I think if they do make that declaration, it will come to nothing, and it'll mean nothing. But except for that, maybe the Russian Duma will vote and say, yes, we accept them into Russia. And then they'll try and use that in the UN, try to get some recognition for that, just like they have tried to get recognition of the other occupied states as a part of Russia, and try to manipulate, on the world stage in some way. Yeah. Yeah. Transnistria, thank you, Ozzy. Transnistria was the home of the USSR 7th Army Group, and its presence was how Transnistria came to be. So at the end of the USSR, basically part of the Soviet army was effectively abandoned there, and this is what happened. Interesting. I once learned that in Transnistria, there was the biggest backlog of munition in Europe. I'm curious about that. Explain more about that, Ronnie. I'm very interested in that. So other news I just want to talk about here. This is a funny one here, okay? This is just for the laughs. The head of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Citizens will have to surrender their combat weapons after the end of martial law. The minister noted that relevant laws will be adopted. I wonder. I think the law that's going to be adopted in Ukraine is going to basically be the Second Amendment, is what I think. I think that Ukrainians, even if they do pass this law, they might get 10% of the guns back. Oh, yes, you're right. You're right. Thank you, Ozzy. You just reminded me, and yeah, there is a large stockpile of munitions in. So, it's possible that those 1,500 Russians or 7,000 total army, whatever it is, they could hold out for a long time because they've got the Soviet stock. Thank you, Ronnie. You're right. Thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to attack, but I don't know. Who freaking knows, man? That was the whole point of, that's what Pooler's doing. Just, whack the chess table. Chess pieces all over the place, 52 card pickup. But this is, speaking of 52 card pickup, these cards ain't gonna get picked up, okay? Ukrainians, the majority of Ukrainians are not going to surrender their combat weapons after the end of martial law. It ain't coming back. And there's going to be a lot of weapons that were never on any record anywhere. Oh, Tony, I didn't know you were still here. Here we go. If they allowed the citizens to have weapons in the first place, this war could possibly have went a different way. Thank you very much. And that's a very strong argument to make. Now, so the other argument that a lot of Ukrainians tell me that they have is, well, we don't want to be like the United States. We don't want to have school shootings every other day. And you can imagine, with a lot of people in a society traumatized by war, the idea of people flying off the handle and shooting up schools and cafes and whatever, because for whatever reason, is a real scary reality to a lot of Ukrainians as well. So this is a big internal debate that is happening, needs to happen within Ukraine. And I mean, I support the Second Amendment in America, and I support the idea of a Second Amendment in Ukraine myself. I will tell you that my two best friends in the world, at separate times, completely, like, Jesus, 10 years apart from each other, 15 years apart from each other, shot themselves. And they were both into guns. They were both gun nuts. Twice this happened to me. Finally had a best friend, shot themselves. So I believe in responsible gun ownership. I believe that people who have guns should also very careful. There should be a community, at least in the United States. There should be a strong. I mean, I know we've got the NRA, right? But does the NRA provide mental health support? In other words, you know, if, a lot of these people in the United States who are, you know, doing these crazy atrocities with their guns, whether it's suicide or homicide, mass murder, to me, in many ways, what I blame, and it's not 100%, but part of it is the gun community not watching out for its own. You know, not I should, you know, not providing the real. I don't mean like institutional support. I mean communal support of brotherhood and friendship that stops people doing awful, crazy shit to themselves and others. That's what responsible gun ownership means to me. And by the way, my friends who were, you know, crazy gun nuts were also liberals, leftist liberal, as leftist liberal, feminist, woke as you could get. Okay, they do exist. Yeah, but you're right, exactly, Tony. Instead of having an army of 400,000, they could possibly have had an army of 1.5 million or more. You know, So I think regulations are an answer, but they're not the only answer. Authentic, organic community support is the answer in many ways. Oh, the Gaga's ethnic group. Yes, Ozzy, thank you for mentioning that. And that's also somewhat, if you don't know what Ozzy just mentioned, he talked about Putler trying to provoke the. I know I'm mispronouncing Gagas. Okay, I totally know that. It's probably like how or something, but whatever. So yeah, so they're a Turkish speaking Russian Orthodox group in like in this sort of area generally. And I think there might even be some in this area of Ukraine as well, but kind of in this southern area. And so there's like a independent Gagauz Republic in Moldova as well. And yeah, that could be what they're gonna go for. Oh yeah, that's an interesting question, Jonathan. So you said, do you really think those weapons in that little place, in other words, here in Transnistria, are in any good shape? Half are stolen and sold; the rest is dusty and rusty. I mean, that's a fair point too. You know, that's a very fair point. No, Cheryl, those are not Hutsuls. Hutsuls are over here in this part of the Carpathians. So they're like way more up in the mountains, this area right here. Yaremchi, everywhere basically from like Ivano-Frankivsk, Kolomia, which I've actually been to Kolomia. So Kolomia is like the start of Hutsul land, I would say, and kind of just across the mountains in this general area. Dude, they're like the most Ukrainian. Hutsuls, I would argue, even Ukrainians will tell me, like, yeah, Hutsuls are like the Ukrainians of the Ukrainians, essentially. Yeah. No, yeah, the Gagauz are down here. You have to remember, this is an area where successive layers of ethnic peoples have been pushed back up into these mountains by various empires and you know, barbarian invasions and what have you. The same is true for the Caucasus, for example. You know, um, over here in the Caucasus, this big mix of the Abkhazians and the Ossetians and Ingusetians and the Azerbaijanis and the Armenians and all of that. You know, so anyway, enough on that. I want to share this article with you, and I will share it to our group here. It's worth reading. I think it's a translation, so it's not great. Yeah, Ozzy. Yeah, you got it right. The Gagas came to a deal with Moldova. They stopped secession, and they now have autonomy, and they kind of overflow into Ukraine as well. Yeah. So this is just a really interesting article, despite the bad Google translation. And it, I'm pointing it out for one thing because I want to point out how, excuse me, how Ukrainian and let's say, I would say Ukrainian or Slavic maybe news articles are structured, and they're just structured so differently from Western and especially American news articles, where you state the main idea at the beginning of the article and then provide the details, and the further down you get, the less important the details are. Oftentimes, Ukrainian news articles are structured exactly the opposite. The summary happens at the end of the article, and it's just details. And then you get to the end of the article, and like the last sentence or the last paragraph is what in a normal Western sense would be at the beginning. But anyway, this is just talking about all of the crazy, and I have to say I'm not bringing it up in, I'm not going into the details of it because a lot of it is the way it's structured, at least in my mind from a Western perspective. I'm it's taking as common knowledge things that I had no idea about, like this guy Ilya Ilyich Traber. It's talking about just all of the cloak and dagger, or as they call it, kaftan and knife shit that's going on, particularly in Spain, where Russians are everywhere, and how they are using the ports like Alicante and some of those areas to smuggle goods into Russia, and generally participating in criminal activities, and how Spain is potentially very compromat. Okay. And I'm not going to go into the details of it because there are so many details. And it's so complex. But just to give you a sense, these are the assassins who did the Novichok. Okay. They've been now promoted, and they're heading up the whole FSB or GRU. Yeah, the weird Ukrainian G that sounds like an H. No, it is an H. They do pronounce it as an H for sure, but there's like 3 different kinds of H's in Ukrainian as well. There's the KH, like Kharkiv, and then there's the XH. Sometimes Kharkiv is spelled that way as well. And then there's the GH. And I just don't even know. I can't tell the difference. So, anyway, so I feel like I've covered most of the things that I wanted to cover. Oh, one last thing. This was somehow I didn't see this reported enough. Okay, but there's some crazy shenanigans happening in Poland right now. And I'm not saying that Poland is going to turn against Ukraine, but there's some shenanigans. I have not, of course, I've watched Peter Zion, and I agreed with his early premises at the beginning, actually before the war, his premises about America and why America is becoming more isolationist, and why China's screwed, and all of these things. Lately, I have kind of felt like he's just trying to milk it. I don't know. I could be wrong, but no, I have not read. Uh, oh no, sorry. I haven't read the books about geopolitics according to Russia, but I have followed very carefully, like his stuff on YouTube and some of the articles that he's written about geopolitics according to Russia, and how effectively Russia has no does not have a geographical defense because of this steppe area here. Sorry, I'm trying to get it to zoom out. And it's not. I guess it won't zoom out anymore than that. Well, that sucks. Okay. But effectively, how Russia lacks any geographical defense, and therefore, quote unquote, feels the need to, to expand its boundaries as much as possible, to narrow its geographical defense. In other words, narrow this, basically the gap in Western Europe, which they previously had what was it called, the Fulda Gap, which was this narrow area of Germany that tanks could easily attack through, and over in the east, having this kind of big open areas. Yeah. So, Jonathan, thank you very much. Yeah, he's kind of milking it. I wish he would. I don't know. I don't have any advice for him, but yeah. So anyway, so Poland. Look, this didn't get reported a lot, but basically, the Zelensky was asking for a border meeting, and I guess that the Poles initially agreed to it, to have a meeting to talk about the protests and the blocking the Ukrainian stuff. And yeah, so basically Ukrainian officials, like, these are the top Ukrainian officials here. This is the ambassador, this is Shmihal, who's the prime minister of Ukraine. You got a guy from the military. Right, Ronnie, that's right. He was right on the Russian crap and not really anything else. He's kind of a doomsayer since then. Yeah. But yeah, it was a good understanding for me about why the Russian saying Russia has no borders has a double meaning there. It's an expression of insecurity as much as of imperialism. Um, yeah, this is crap. This contaminated Ukrainian grain is making its way into the Polish food market. Bullshit. Bullshit. It's just bullshit. Okay. The only grain that's making it now, into the Polish market, is the stuff that's getting spilled. Okay. Yeah. The stuff that's getting spilled by Russian operatives in Poland. This is the only grain that's making it into Poland, onto Polish soil right now. The rest of it was just supposed to be transferred through Poland out to other markets. And this idea of, Ukrainian grain is contaminated. It's no more contaminated than American grain. Yeah, did they arrest the morons? Okay, that's good. But they also arrested a Ukrainian journalist, okay, who was, reporting on the trade between Poland and Russia. So, Polish law enforcement officers arrested and detained, and it took the Ukrainian embassy in Poland calling the Polish government and saying, "Hey, what's going on here?" To get the and then they deleted some of their you didn't know about this. Yeah. So Polish law enforcement officers arrested Mikhailo Tkach and his cameraman close to the Polish Belarusian border while they were filming a story about the transit of goods between Poland, Russia, and Belarus. The footage was partially deleted by the Polish authorities. Now, it's possible that they have a it's possible that they had a good reason for this. I mean, that it's a secure border. There's lots of problems on that border, and maybe they were like, okay, there's some things you can't show on this border. That's reasonable, but it's concerning. This is concerning here that this delegation showed up, and so this was on the 23rd, right? Delegation from Ukraine showed up to negotiate, and Poland didn't even show up, left them standing on the border. Okay, that's disgusting. That's shameful. Like, that's just shameful. So, all right, a last thing. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about because I'm going on 2 hours here. All right, I think this is a huge article, and I have to talk about it. This is massively huge, I think. Yeah. So the CIA has had. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Ronnie. Poland got 130 billion. Yeah. Don't piss me off with this. I agree, Ronnie. Poland got 130 billion from the EU. Large parts of it to support their farmers. And they're doing that shit. They're doing this shit. And they're complaining about Ukrainian grain contaminating Poland. They're the ones doing it. Oh, I thought that was a typo, technical grain. I thought it meant something else. Just think about how many farmers put their lives at risk to go out into the fields, plant in the middle of the land with mines. Yes, thank you, Sally. This is what a lot of Ukrainians are saying. Like, we've got people risking their lives to grow this grain for the world. And these guys are doing this crap. It's disgusting. Oh, it's a grade of grain? Okay. All right. But yeah, this is huge. Okay, so basically the CIA has apparently and has had 12 since 2014, 12 bases essentially along the border with Russia in Ukraine. Okay. Now, I mean, I think it's great. I think it's amazing. I'm like, yeah. And has been working since 2014 to root out Russian spies. According to this article, it's a very good article about how, they're being fed disinformation rather than contaminated grain. Thank you, Cheryl. This is a very interesting article I recommend you read about how basically the SBU was fully infiltrated with Russian spies before 2014. After the Maidan Revolution, this is the head of the SBU. It's like the Ukrainian FBI. No, I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. It's great. I think that Russia's whole thing at the start of the war about, there's all these secret weapons, bioweapons laboratories. What it really was is there's secret CIA bases. I'm glad to hear it. It fills me with, pride, because the CIA has had a reputation of not doing good things in other countries, you know. So basically, the SBU, starting in 2014, had to completely rebuild itself. You know, it says here, it was clear that we, the SBU, needed to start from zero. You know, when he took over the agency, this Valentin, name I can't pronounce, Nalyevchenko. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. He basically, I came to realize the SBU was destroyed. All the files about the Revolution of Dignity had been burned out in the courtyard of the SBU, and many key documents had been sent to Donetsk by Yanukovych's people, essentially. FSB and other Russian services. Anyway, it just goes on and on. And so, you know, our CIA has been really helping, and this fills me with confidence. And there's no indication that they have stopped. They still are. And I like this a lot. There's been rumors about it this whole time. Now we know, and I'm happy. So we'll end with that good news, guys. Thank you all for coming. And I would like to just ask you all, on my support page, I've only got 4 things on there right now. Okay, because these are the things that we need the most. Toilet cleaner. Actually, we have two orders already for toilet cleaner. So this one bottle should be enough for a month, I think. I'm not really sure. Maybe 2 bottles a month. So, but you know, if you have $20 and you want to help, you want to send help immediately. Right now, we've got 10 tourniquets ordered. Okay, but I can't send tourniquets unless I've got, I mean, realistically, like 30. Okay, because 10 tourniquets is enough for, depending on how you count, 2 guys, maybe 1 guy. Okay, and I can't. They have to pull someone off the front line to go and get these tourniquets. You know, because we can't send them all the way to the front line. We send them to the nearest Novopostia. So these will go to the Novopostia nearest to the front line in the Chasiv Yar area. The toilets were sent. I can tell you, if you want to know what happened with the toilets are being used. The commander was not happy about them because, as a Ukrainian, he was like, these Americans need to learn to use Soviet toilets, you know. But nonetheless, they are being actively used, and yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have pictures of the coats that we sent. We sent 44 coats and a bunch of other stuff, like 15 pairs of pants and 28 sweaters. He didn't take pictures of them, you know. So Greg is doing it now. Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah, Greg. No, Greg. Greg is so far above me. Greg is freaking awesome, and I'm hoping I get a chance to meet with Greg sometime in the near future, and maybe we can collaborate in some way. The only so I'm asking for. So I've got, just to let you know, I've got $10 in support for a drone. The drone's going to cost $800. What about seats and bags? Seats? Oh, toilet seats. Toilet seats. Yeah. So, yeah. He was pissed off. But yeah, once they're in there, like the guys are using them, so it's great. And my hope is that when my back is fixed, fuck it, man. I don't give a shit. I'm fucking going. I'm going. I can't wait. I can't wait anymore. It's driving me fucking nuts. To sit here and just only be able to do this. Okay. Anyway, so what I'm saying here is, Right now I've got $177. Yeah, squat toilets like in India. Yes, that is. I would say more than 50% of the toilets you encounter here in Ukraine are squat toilets. Yeah, Ukrainians, they do their squats, man. Yeah, dude. Yeah, no, it's is it Ronnie? I know Greg is amazing. If I had a car, if I didn't leave both of my cars in America, with family, should have had one shipped over here when I could. But there we are. Oh, James, how can I join as a member? It's on. You can pay. It's I think it's like $1.99 or something on the. Thank you for bringing that up. It's $1.99 on the YouTube channel page membership. Now I am in talks with somebody who's on our stream, an old friend of mine who came on the stream last stream to get the YouTube channel sorted out. So here's the membership page. Oh, I'm not a member apparently. Okay, this is what the membership tab looks like. I'm going to revise this, but I'm also going to set it up so that if you have purchased, this is my goal. Okay, I want to set it up so that if you purchase something on here, you also get a membership into the Discord server. Not it won't be a YouTube membership, it'll be a Discord server membership, but it will be effectively the same. That is my goal. Okay, so I'm going to go back once I do get that set up, and all the people who have made purchases on this website will be members in the Discord server as well. And then yeah. So so there we are. Just to let you know what the standing is here. I've got 10 tourniquets ordered so far, $10 towards an $800 drone, and $177 towards armor plates, and I need to be above 200. Oh, you can't see any membership tab in YouTube? Weird. Really? It should be available to everyone. That's weird. Shit. That's very strange. I don't know why that would be. Because it should have membership should be. Okay, I'll look into that, Sally. I'll just go in and verify that memberships are available because you're in California, as I recall, right? Or you're in America, at least. So that's certainly not what I want. But yeah, okay. Anyway, so I know that I can't show like a graph yet. I don't have a way of showing a graph of how much has been raised in each section, so I'm just physically telling you. You don't see the YouTube membership tab either? Oh, crap. Oh, God. All right. Well, thanks for letting me know, guys. I need to go and check on this because YouTube, I didn't get any message from YouTube about this. So maybe it's been suspended for some reason or there's some other weird thing. Who knows? That's very strange. Okay. Do I need your in real life name that was on the purchase to get the Discord membership? If you include your email when you order, I'll be able to send you an invite to the Discord. And like I said, it's not going to happen right away. I have to talk to my friend to help me get this set up, and then also Tridents Against Tyrants. You see perks, and the membership tab was there at the beginning of the stream. Weird. It's maybe you're already a member. I don't. It's strange. You're in Ohio. Oh, I can only see the membership tab while I was already a member, and then my membership expired. Interesting. Maybe you're still a member? Okay, I'm going to have to research this. Thank you for this information and you don't see it either. Okay. Yeah, buy me a coffee. I do have a buy me a coffee set up actually. If you guys, I set it up, but let me see if I can find my buy me a coffee. Or it's right here. I just it's why Ukraine. So it's buymeacoffee.com/why Ukraine. But yeah, thank you for this information. I used to include a link to this on my YouTube channel, but nobody supported me on Buy Me a Coffee, and so I just took it off. But if that's something that people want to do, that's doable too. You know, I've got a lot of things to work on. I need to get PayPal fixed. Just one thing at a time every day. You know, this morning, by the way, if you want to know, I'm actually going to go to the family farm and work on preparing the farm for the spring today. Hopefully, it's all going to be stuff where I don't have to bend over. I think I'm going to be trimming the trees, the apple trees. Interesting. Oh, when you press the, oh, okay. All right. Well, this is important stuff, Cheryl, that I need to fix. So I really appreciate you letting me know about that. I didn't know there was a way if you press the $sign that Buy Me a Coffee would show up. What does show up, Cheryl? Besides Buy Me a Coffee. Well, anyway. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for this. Okay, so KK's GG is still a member, but I'm not anymore. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that information. Really, really, guys. Because yeah, otherwise I have I have no way of knowing. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna do pruning and stuff. All under the direction of someone else. I mean, I have done pruning myself, but it's not technically not my trees and not my land, so I'm just gonna prune where they tell me to. And super stickers and super chats. Okay, interesting. Okay. I have another YouTube account, so maybe what I'll do is test from my other YouTube account and see what I can see from there and whatnot. So yeah, and that's the thing, is that's why I don't use it so much. I'm afraid even for Buy Me a Coffee, I don't know what the cut is, but like Patreon takes like 20% or something, 10%, 20%, something like that. So that's why I ended up going with Shopify. But you know, nothing is perfect. I think it's better to have multiple platforms, as many as possible. You know, dude. Thanks, Ronnie. Thanks very much for coming. I really appreciate everybody who came today. So, Slava Ukraine, guys, and I will see you all again Friday night, America time, or it would technically be Saturday morning, my time. So look for that, and